I'm back, baby. Yeah. It's time once again for another episode of Random Reviews! Alright, today I have not one, but two different video games. One being Vanquished. A 2000 whatever game. A game that came out in 2010. Crazy Japanese, fun. Holy crap, we'll get into that a little bit later. And I got Dishonored. A game that came out 2012. And, well, we'll get into that later. Anyways, I'm Brandon, of course. And before I get started, I would love to tell you that if you would like to discuss with me about any of these games, because I love talking about this shit, clearly being that I do so many different shows about video games and movies and such, you can do one of three things. Put in the comments section. Go to bloodyscreenpod.com and talk to us in our forums. Or you can email us at bloodyscreenpodcast@gmail.com. bloodyscreenpodcast@gmail.com. Any of those three, I'd get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. So without further ado, let's talk about, we'll start out with Vanquished. Game that came out in 2010 that not many people even know exist, which is a fucking shame. This game isn't perfect. Let me put it this way. It lacks heavily in the story. The story being that, you are this DARPA soldier. You're this DARPA soldier named Sam. And so, the Russians, they have this weird colony in space thing that can shoot like a Death Star laser. They end up destroying San Francisco. They destroy San Francisco and they send you and a basically infinite amount of military guys from what it seems like. And you and the military and one of the leader of the military being this guy called Colonel Burns. And you got Colonel Burns there, who, if I'm not mistaken, is voiced by Steve Bloom. The guy who does the voice of Wolverine. He really has that voice, but he even makes him more raspy because he's an old man. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Yeah, you are sent there, and you have to basically take over the space station and try to save a scientist that happens to be there. It's a very simple plot, I understand. It was so simple, why'd you have such a hard time explaining it, Brandon? No, it is a simple fucking plot. Nothing to it, really. It's just, oh yeah, these guys attacked us, go attack them. They do have a couple twists in there that I'm just like, oh, that was rather swell. I was really impressed with how this game ends. Because majority of the game, it has a lot of cutscenes in it. They're only like, less than 20 seconds long in most of them. But, when you get towards the last little push of this game, that's where all this fucking story comes in, where they explain everything. And I'm just like, whoa! You had a whole fucking game to do this. I mean, it's not a very long game. I'm going to clock it in at about 6 hours. Like, it's not very long at all. Very fast-paced shooter. It is very, very fast-paced, because, for God's sakes, one of your main abilities is because this is a cover-based shooter. So one of the main abilities you get is being able to, shoot, have like these rocket sliders. So you don't have a run button. Instead you have this slide button where he just gets on his knees, and then if you start shooting an enemy, it gets in slow motion and shit. I also cannot tell you how the health works in this game because, oh, thank you. Alright, so you'll get injured and it gets in this like slow motion wall, and you can actually escape from the area, shoot some enemies in slow-mo. And then I want a picture if you get shot within 30 seconds after the wall, and you start getting, not shot, but you take more damage after that, then you die. This is how I picture the health. The health I was never entirely clear about. You're basically, since your character he works for some, weapons creator, basically. I'm not really 100% what your character, DARPA. Yeah, it's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Holy shit, wonder why they call it DARPA. But yeah, you get this. You're wearing this awesome suit the whole time. And this suit is like this guy. This guy's suit puts Master Chief to shame because he's able to to drill through robots with his fucking feet and shit. He's able to do flips in the air. It makes Master Chief suit look like shit. He also has guns that could just come out of his leg, and then they're just collapsible guns. And it's really just all this stuff that is just in this game, just kind of its own universe. It does borrow from a lot. I mean, for the God's sakes, the main villain's Russian. You're on this space station that's all circular and shit. And it looks a lot like the Citadel from. I mean, there's a lot of shit that this borrows from, but it still turns out to be a pretty damn fun game. The majority of the enemies you're fighting are robots. I mean, all of them, I should say. All the enemies you fight are robots, and they're usually these really easy to kill robots. A lot of them are the easy to kill where if you shoot off their head, they're done. You do get a lot of boss fights, which usually turn out to be, how do I put it? They're either gigantic freaking monster-like creature robots that, you just have to freaking, somehow with your machine gun, because they're geniuses. They actually even mention this in the game. They're like, they risk vulnerability just for more firepower. I mean, they're pretty poor design, and the game actually tells you this, so that way it's not even a flaw in the game, because they're like, no, this is kind of part of the continuity. They actually explain shit like that, why the enemy has a big fucking weak spot. It's because they wanted more firepower. I can appreciate that. So you got that going on, and so you fight the bosses, and then you have bigger enemies that are like, they're just your normal enemies, but they take more to hit. I was more curious about one thing, though. In a lot of the cutscenes, they'll show, you with only 3 or 4 troops, and some of the cutscenes, you leave your troops behind, they're all dead or something, and then all of a sudden the game starts, and there's just, 5 other dudes behind you and the colonel. I'm just, and that's where I say the infinite spawning men are coming from. It just seems like they come out of fucking nowhere. I do want to have to say, this game was made by the boys down at Platinum Games. Platinum Games made, famous for, not really famous, but they're known for, let's put it that way, they're known for such games as, I'm drawing a blank here. I want to say they made, Bayonetta. That was it. Bayonetta, Mad World. Okay, there we go. That was, goddamn. That's what I was thinking of. They made this year's Anarchy Reigns. But they made one of my more favorite games known as Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which we have a review up on the site, so you should go check it out. Anyways, so we got Platinum Games made this. It really does feel like a Platinum Games game. It's crazy, fast-paced, just, shoot, it's colors all in your face. It's not very bloody per se, but it gets the point across. There is one button I think is just funny as hell. If you're in cover, you can make Sam smoke. You just, in cover, you press what usually would be your boost button. He just his mask collapses. You see his face. He whips out a cigarette, starts smoking. I have never seen a game before promote smoking like this game. It was quite funny, actually. Because even in the cutscenes, he'll just whip out a cigarette and just start smoking. I'm like, okay, that's nice. So it's a great game. It really is. It's fantastic. It's something that I think people need to at least rent. I wouldn't say buy it, because this game's not going to end up being for everybody. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, this story's stupid, or and too many flashing lights, or why isn't Call of Duty? Something people always find a problem with. I'm not going to say this is a perfect game. Like I said, it's really lacking in the story department. It could have done with a little bit more enemy variance. I mean, they get the job across, and it's not long enough to really get annoying that you're just essentially killing the same enemies over and over. But I think they could have they could have changed it a little bit, I guess you could say. They could have added different enemies, and maybe the whole game takes place on this one colony thing, which is, like I said, all looks like the Citadel as is. That background gets really old really quick. That was, I wouldn't say it was a problem, but it's something that annoyed me. Anyways, in the end, rating wise, I'm thinking about the rating, and I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. The gameplay is magnificent. I can hardly see any problems with it. You play on a harder difficulty, it will be a challenge, guaranteed. It will be a challenge. But if you don't like challenges, you can play on easy. Easy's, well, it's easy. And then they even have easy, which I love how that mode's been incorporated in our games. But it's not very long, and I don't see much replay value, and that's also what's docking this. When I play a game, I want to be able to play it multiple different times. I want to be able to play it different ways. I want to be able to good, bad, this decision, that decision. I like my open-ended games. Not every game needs to be open-ended. Don't get me wrong. This game's very linear, and it does a great job of this linear, but there's nothing else to it once you beat the story. You beat it, you put it aside, you plop in the next game. That's literally how this is. So, yeah, I'm at 3.5 stars, more than fair enough. I would really highly recommend if you find this for a discount, which you should be able to. I got it free off of PlayStation Plus when I was on there. So, yeah, I would definitely check that out. 3.5 stars, good recommendation. Now time for Dishonored. Now this game was a lot of people's just absolute favorite game of what was it? 2011? Or 2012. It was a lot of people's favorite game of 2012. I will give it this. It was an original as fuck IP. The story of this is you are Corvo, a bodyguard to the Empress. And she gets assassinated really early on in the game, like first scene in the game. She gets assassinated, you try to fight them off. Everyone, the little girl gets kidnapped and you're just like, what the fuck? And, the people who come up there, this is part always makes me laugh. They get one good look at you and they're just like, he did it! He's the killer! And you get arrested, then this group of, assholes that just decide to revolt against the Empire decide to break you free from prison, and then it's just, revenge time. And that's basically the whole story. It's just getting revenge on the people who wronged you throughout the entire game. Or not getting revenge on them, per se. Because it has this element where you can either kill them, or spare them and be like, you're okay, I'm gonna which, I can't tell you what happens if you spare anybody, because I didn't spare anybody. I killed everybody. I played this game how it's not supposed to be played. Now, people who love this game, you're like, oh, Brandon, you should have been more stealthy. Yes, people who have been interested in this game, haven't picked it up, you must be stealthy. I repeat, be stealthy. You can be seen, and you'll have a bunch of guards come down on you, and it's not impossible to play the game if you're not stealthy. I was like a fucking butcher, dude. I was a goddamn butcher. I just walked through, I'd try to be sneaky. I'd kill a couple guys stealth-like, and then some asshole sees me, and now everybody's gotta die. And that's how my entire gameplay was. It was just like, oh, he saw me, fuck it, bang, bang. Pistol, sword, and I just loot. There was just a mountain of corpses with me, And from what this game's supposed to say is, if you kill more people, there's supposed to be more plague around, and more of the weeping people who are infected by this rat plague that infests the whole world of Dishonored. I saw a little bit of that. I didn't really see a whole lot of them. I saw a few weeping people. I killed them. I didn't even know if that's part of the story, or if I would have been sneaky and not killed anybody, if they would even be there. I don't know how that really works. Like I said, the only way to find out would be to play it 2 different ways and find out. I do know I did get the bad ending because I killed people. I'm like, I'm sorry, I've been conditioned in video games to kill people, not to be like, I'll teach you next time. I'm not gonna kill you, but I'll beat you up, or, something stupid. Ugh. I mean, there was even one guy, it was the best, he, drops me off. And he's just like, I don't know, I didn't like the things you've done. This is like the last level of the game. He tells me the things you've done. I don't approve of them. And I don't like you. And this will be the last thing I ever do to help you. And I'm gonna alert them that you're here. And I see him whip out a pistol. I have my little crossbow in my hand. I shoot him right in the fucking face. I killed that son of a bitch. Folks, you basically can almost kill anybody in this game. I mean, certain people I never tried to kill, but I'm pretty sure you could basically kill anybody, because I am surprised I was able to kill that dude. I shot an arrow right in his fucking face. He flies off the boat and just dead in the water. I was like, oh god, that's awesome. The combat. You know, you have multiple different ways you can play this game. You could play it all stealthy and use your magics and stuff to turn into rats and do whatever. You could play it more kind of first-person action game like I did, where I was like kind of just sneak in, stab, up, fight. The sword mechanics are kind of shitty. I mean, I will admit, it doesn't, you know, maybe I'm just used to being a badass swordsman, but Corvo is not a badass swordsman. It kind of, a lot of the time, my sword fighting just went into, just me swinging my sword like a madman. You can be good. I say the sword combat wasn't good. It just didn't do what I did. It was really precise, is what it was. Where, you know, if you swung, they can, you know, the enemies you're fighting are trained swordsmen, clearly, because they'll be able to counter, dodge, block, you know, they could do all that shit. So basically it kind of turns into that whole thing where you gotta kind of counter, you know, block, stab, you know, do all that shit. But it just, you know, I don't know. It kind of turns really frantic, because every time you get in one of those situations where you actually have to sword fight someone, it kind of turns into this whole thing where you're just like, you know, oh, I'm trying to fight him, this dude's coming up to me, he's trying to shoot me with a pistol. I was playing this game on fucking easy, and your health just goes pew, pew, pew. I mean, it just goes down. Like I said, I still beat the damn game, so it's not impossible to play like I played, but it just makes it way more stressful. So, try not to do it, people. The enemies are basically the same fucking people you fight the entire game. They're just the guards. That's all they are. There really is no variant. You have certain assassination targets that you can either kill them or ruin their fucking life. Like, you know, I was hearing stuff about, like, oh, you're able to send them into mines for, like, basically work slavery the rest of their life. I really think I did not do the evil ending. I was like, I killed them and that was it. If you spare them and you send them to to work in horrible things, that's not okay. It has a lot of exploration. It's pretty open world. It's really open on how you can complete your objectives. I respect that. I do respect that. I also have to say, this game is kind of one of those games where you might want to save after you do something. Because I ran into this one part in the game where I had to fight the same enemies like 4 times because I kept getting killed in stupid ways, and it has a shitty checkpoint. So, yeah, I would suggest really just you do something that you don't want to redo, save, because it has the save anytime feature. Shitty autosave. It does use the Unreal Engine, which I should say, this is made by Arcane Studios as well. Arcane Studios, they've been known for that Dark Messiah game I never played. BioShock 2 they helped out with. They're really not a big company. Yeah, the last game they actually made was, BioShock 2. So, yeah, not a real big, and they only did the level design assistance. I mean, otherwise, the actual game they made was that Dark Messiah game, because they're really a small time. And I wish them the best of luck. I really do. I really hope they get more work out of them. I wouldn't want to see any more in this universe, though. This place wasn't entirely that interesting. It was just kind of, at first I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I was really, you start out the game, you're going to call me a fucking liar. You're going to be like, Brandon, you don't know dick what you're talking about. But this is like a 12 to 15 hour game, and you're just kind of, depending how much you do, because there are little side things you can do and all that, side objectives, and depending on how you play is how quick, like if you play like I play, you're actually going to fly through the game. I'd probably beat it maybe in 8 hours. Maybe 10. I'm not 100%. It's not terribly long, but really depends how you play. I do have to say though, Single player experience, couple different endings, but the endings are just that stupid shit where if you get the evil ending or good ending, they can just kind of show you it's just like a still frame panning over describing, like in my case, what a terrible thing I was, what a terrible human being I was. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I didn't play like a little vagina, so I get to have the bed. Fuck you. Anyway, so just, it's not a terrible game. It's not really my cup of tea. I would like my fast-paced, shoot 'em ups than my slow pace. You know what really gets to me about this? Maybe it's just because it's a first-person stealth game. First person does not work with me. First-person shooters, fine. And that's where we leave first-person at. Shooters. You try to do first-person driving, try to do first-person anything else. Just does not work. First-person swordplay, I am terrible at. When I play Skyrim, people, I play in third person. I cannot do first-person swordplay at all. And maybe that's where I ran into some problems too in this game. I want to play, I want to say it's user error. I also have to, I mentioned the graphics, I'm totally just forgot about them. The graphics are that cel-shaded kind of cartoony bullshit they got going on. It is pretty damn gory, like kind of awesome gory, where if you throw a grenade at someone, you're gonna see their legs go flying off and shit. But it's not the most pretty looking game in the world, that's for sure. It's really, like I said, I tend to give this generation, I tend to give video games a pass now when they do this. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's because, a lot of the price of video games comes from just the hardware to create them. So if they, if the game doesn't look all like Battlefield 4, I'm not going to blame it because, not every studio is not, one, going to make that kind of money, and two, they're not going to be able to, they don't know if this one was going to be hit or miss, they don't know. If they make another game in this series, folks, I want to see it go into less stealthy, more actiony. I wanted to play it my own way. You can, but they really kind of push you into one way of playing, which kind of makes me like, you guys kind of light on the box saying, play however you want. But there's only two ways to really do it. You can either not kill anybody or really just be stealthy as hell and kill only, go as slow pace as possible. Do not do what I did where you're just like, fuck it. Being that, like I said, it's user error. I'm not calling this a bad game. It has a pretty piss poor story overall. I didn't even know who the main antagonist was half the time. Because it's just like, oh, you killed him, and then they all kind of ran together. I'm not gonna lie. All the antagonists ran together. Your hero was that silent protagonist, which pisses me off. People talk to him. They're asking him fucking questions. Answer him, you piece of shit! Answer them! But anyways, that is it. I'm gonna have to give it, I'm just gonna give it a flat 3. 3 out of 5. That's fair. Like I said, I have my own issues with this game. It's not perfect. If you still haven't picked it up, I would say rent it, see what you think. Because you might be in my boat or you might be in the boat that loves it. So it's really a rental to me. So that is it, everybody. That was issue number 5 of the Random Reviews. Tune in next week for, I don't know, another issue. Because I'm not planning that far ahead.